Okay, now let's start the conversation with consultants, episode 63. Moving ahead, I am Nima Kumari, HR Associate and ACR Coordinator of SKNG.
And I am Arpita Mohta, serving as the Research Associate Intern at SKNG.
Hi, I'm Sasikanth. I work as a consultant with startups and SMEs.
Okay. Moving ahead, the only thing that stand between you and your dream is the will to try and believe that is actually possible. It's a beautiful quote by Joel Brown. So with this quote, I could like to bring our talk show name Conversation with Consultants with episode 16 of our guest talk series.
SK Associates and Group. We are an ISO certified management consulting firm registered under the MSMED Act 2006 with the Government of India. Our mission is to provide consulting services to student entrepreneurs covering areas such as compliance, operations, marketing, research, development, human capital strategy, and operations. Our passion lies in helping these budding entrepreneurs bring their dreams to life and contribute to global economic growth.
Entrepreneurship is a catalyst for change and innovation. It's a powerful force that can reshape industries and transforms lives and make the world a better place. We are committed to supporting students, entrepreneurs on their journey, equipping them with the tools, knowledge, network they need to succeed.
So, now before we begin our talk show, let's take a moment to introduce our guest for today. It gives us immense pleasure to welcome Mr. Sasikanth R CEO of A2Zee Venture Consultancy to this special event. We are truly honored by your presence, sir. So today, and we are thrilled to have you share this momentous occasions with us. We
Thank you.
would like to, yes, sir. We would like to start this interview with a very first question for you,
Okay.
which is that what does it mean to learn from failure?
So, since I have worked for the last 10 years with startups, I've seen more failures than prior to that 20 years back, right? So, a lot of things to share. So, I will share one by one whatever I've had experience. So, according to me, if you look at when learning from failure is trying to know what is positive, what is negative which has happened in your startup, what is good and bad that has happened in startup, and what has been working, what has been not working for a startup. Okay, that's one thing. Typically, if you see in academic life, since you are talking about student, in academic life, what happens is you first learn and then you have a test. Whereas in a personal and professional life, you first get the experience and then you learn from the failure. So that's why it's called why you have to learn from failure, because you first have the experience and then you learn from it. That's what I would like to say as learning from failure.
Okay. The next question is how can stay back help us grow as individuals?
So typically, what happens when you say setbacks, they are challenges. They can be called as. So typically, I address most failures as challenges because that is a more positive way of putting it, right? So when you say how can setbacks help us grow individuals, basically our perspectives gets broadened when we face failures. Okay, then our patience get built up, and we also boost our persistency. When we try to overcome setbacks or when we try to overcome challenges or failures, perseverance matrix or perseverance rate goes up. So the setbacks gives you a success formula. And if you look at KFC founder Colonel Sanders, he went through a lot of setbacks before finally making KFC a world-renowned chain. Right? So that's how setbacks helped KFC founder grow him as an individual.
So, thank you, sir. Now, just a similar question. So, why are failures an important part of the learning process and learning journey?
See, failure is very important because that gives you the path, it gives you the direction. Because uh, if you don't accept failure or if you don't embrace failure, then you will not see the right path towards your goal. So it's very important that failure comes as a part of your success story, so that finally when you end success, you are actually able to rejoice much more than when you get success without a failure.
Okay. The next question is, what is the difference between failure and giving up?
Okay. Uh, Failure is you keep on trying till you achieve your dead end, or rather till you reach a stage where you're not able to see success or you're not able to go further. Because giving up is without putting your 100% efforts. You're just letting it go maybe at the second attempt or third attempt. And I see most of the startups doing this, where they wind up a startup even though they could have continued for some more time with little or less funding, right? So failure is challenge, setbacks. Giving up is you're letting go of whatever ambition you have just overnight without putting in your 100% effort. So 100% effort is what is differentiating between failure and giving up. Yeah.
Yeah. So, sir, next question is can you have ever experienced such a setback? And if you did so, then how did you handle it that time?
Okay. So I was in the corporate career from 91 to 2015, and my last position was VP at HCL. So I almost remained at VP position for 10 years, which means I became VP at 35 and continued to become remain as VP till 45. That's when I realized that my career got stagnated and I need to switch my career. When you pivot your career, very dangerous thing to do at 45 then, because you're entering the Chakravyuh. And at 45, when you pivot your career, you enter Chakravyuh, you're like Abhimanyu. You go in, either you succeed or you fail. You can't come out of it. You can't take any other route, right? So I would say that as the point in which it was a major setback in terms of suddenly switching the career, and from an eight-figure salary, you're getting zero money every month coming into your bank account, right? So that was the point at which I had faced a setback and converted that. So it took me 10 years. I mean, I've reached 10 years. It took me 3 years to see success in the consulting business. Yeah.
Okay. Nice. Your next question is, what lessons can we learn from our mistakes?
Okay. We should not make the same mistake again. And there is always scope for putting in extra efforts. If things don't work out, you need to change our approach. Right. And the last, you need to switch your thinking hat when you have, and that's one of the biggest lessons which I've learned. If you're thinking as a startup founder and you have faced a failure, then you need to start thinking as a customer of a startup or a consumer of a startup. So these are the four big lessons I would suggest as.
Great. So my next question is, how can failure make us stronger and more resilient in our journey?
Okay. When we do not lose sight of the goal and we keep working against the odds, that is when we become strong and resilient, right? Because moment you let go, then you're not strong, you're weak, right? So when you fight against the odds, when you fight against setbacks, that is when you become more strong and resilient. Now, how does failure make you strong and resilient? When you lose the fear of failure. For example, if you keep thinking, I will fail, oh, what will I do if I fail? What will I do if I fail? Then you're bound to fail. So one thing which I have learned is lose the fear of failure, protecting yourself. You need to take some safeguards, protecting yourself. Lose the fear of failure. Moment you lose the fear of failure, then you become strong and resilient to face any failure as challenge or obstacles or setbacks rather than as a pure failure where you're just giving up, right? That's what I would like to say.
Okay. The next question is, how can we shift our mindset to view failures as opportunities for growth?
When we pass through a traffic signal, you have red, you have green, you have amber, right? I've seen many startups when they see a red signal, I mean they see a red signal and they stop. My suggestion will be is move from the red signal, green signal approach to amber signal. That means when you have to be when you face a challenge, when you face a setback, you need to slow down and look at it as an amber and alert signal and then move it rather than stopping it immediately. So what I would suggest is you need to have a growth mindset instead of a fixed mindset. Only then you can see failure as an opportunity for growth. Otherwise, you will not be able to see. So that's what I practice. Whenever I face some challenge, I will say, okay, what can I see this as an amber signal rather than as a stop signal? So that's what I do.
So moving ahead, what role does perseverance plays, in overcoming setbacks?
Okay. Now, as Jeff Bezos says, perseverance and passion put together is grit. And grit is defined, or grit has been found as the most important factor for any startup or any venture, or you need to be successful in personal or professional life or academic life. You need to have grit, which is actually one step beyond perseverance. That means perseverance plus passion is what is called grit. That's why you need to have perseverance plus passion to overcome your failure.
Okay. Next question is, what are some common reasons why people fear failure?
Most people, including me, some time back, used to be paranoid of failure. And once you become paranoid of failure, feeling ashamed of facing people, you don't have confidence in your ability, you feel it's the end of the world, you feel very insecure, you feel you're unprepared, and you're not ready to face the challenges. So that is why when people are not ready to fail, that's when they fear failure. But when you're ready to fail, you will not fear failure.
So my next question is, how can failure help us develop problem-solving skills?
How do you define problem solving skill, right? So you define problem solving skill saying that how do I identify a problem, how do I analyze the causes for the problem, how do I develop or implement solution for the problem, and finally once you have developed the solution, evaluate the results, right? So when you do these four things, your critical thinking ability goes up, your communication ability goes up, your adaptability goes up, your IQ tend to grow. When you start solving problem, your IQ tend to grow. So that is how failure. When you face multiple failures, your ability to do problem solving increases. And in my case, having worked with so many startups in last 10 years, prior to startup, I have worked with 7 corporates in 24 years. Whereas in last 10 years, I would have at least worked with 15, 20 startups, right? And believe me, many of them have failed. I would suggest it is a joint failure, me failing and they failing both. So I wouldn't attribute as one cause. But in that process, today, I have a success formula which can tell me, okay, what will contribute to failure, what will contribute to success. That's very important from learning from failures.
Okay, moving ahead, your next question is, can failure be a stepping stone to success? How?
Okay. So if you look at Steve Jobs, you know what he says? Your entire past is connected over dots. And after listening to Steve Jobs, that one single line, I felt so motivated and went back and analyzed my past. And I found that every job which I did happened to me for some reason. So, which means every failure or challenge that you get in your life is actually a stepping stone to success. Which means you need to view success as multiple stacks of failure which gets added up, and then when you add success, this failure is actually contributing to your success. And it has happened to me in my personal life, academic life, and professional life. For example, I would always think, oh, why did I work in that company for 3 months? For example, let me give you a outright example. I worked in Asian Paints Kasna, which is now Greater Noida. I worked for 3 months and ran away from there because I didn't like maintenance. But then the next job I did was in Siemens, which is a German multinational company into process automation, factory automation, industrial automation. And when I did that process automation, factory automation, and industrial automation for 5 years, I realized that 3 months my exposure to Asian Paints factory actually made me expert in understanding how to go and suggest automation solution to factory. And in those 5 years, I used to visit factory almost every week. Every month, I used to meet multiple factory, suggest how do they go for automation, go in for control systems and all that. So while at that time I viewed me joining Asian Paints maintenance as a failure, And in my dad also said, why did you want to go and take a? But today, when I look back, that 3 months was a very fundamental learning exercise, which gave me enough confidence to go and suggest automation solutions to factories. So you should value failures as stepping stones and finally convert the stepping stone into a stack which will actually add to your success. See, actually, if you look at success at the top, the bottom 4 or 5 things is all failures. Similar in my life, I became senior VP at a $1 billion company, earning almost 7 to 8 figure salary with 200 people, 1,000 crores of business as a business unit head. But below that success, there were a lot of intermittent failures, a lot of setbacks, a lot of challenges. But I would say, looking back, I didn't give up at any stage. Yeah, I might have given up in that particular instance for that particular role and moved to a different role. But my role of moving up the company level always remained. So I never deviated from. While you might say, yes, my Asian Paints stint was a failure from the company perspective because they didn't get anything from 3 months of me working there. But for me, it was a tremendous learning. It was a stepping stone for my next job.
So your journey is very inspiring. Moving ahead, this is a very talked about question, and as a student, I too relate to it a lot. That how can we learn to accept and forgive ourselves when we fail?
So when things go wrong, my wife always tells me why it's happening to us, why it's happening to our daughter, why is it happening to you? Okay, so I have only one philosophy. Except God, everyone fails at some points of their life. I'm yet to find an individual who has got success throughout their life and there was no failure. If there is success in professional life, there will be failure in personal. If there is failure in personal, if there is success in personal and professional life, there will be failure in their previous academic life. There will be failure at some point of the time or in some point of their life. Okay, so when you start thanking God for those lessons of failure which you get once you succeed, that is when you turn to accept failure and forgive ourselves when we fail. And today, believe me, I have no regret in any of the things which I've done. Yeah, obviously, in the course of professional life, you do some things which are a little bit unprofessional because the company forces you, right? You don't have a choice. Like, for example, I had to fire 10 people. So my company gave me option saying that Sasikanth, fire 10 people or you fire 3 people. So then what do I choose? Either they will fire 10 people from my division without even bothering to talk to them, or you decide Sasikanth and fire 3 out of those 10 people. Okay, now I'll tell you why what happened was. These 10 people, they fudged attendance to show that they're coming into the office late. By one girl will come in the beginning of at 8:30. As let's say it's 9 o'clock is your attendance. One girl will come at 8:45 and sign attendance for the other 3. Then next guy will come at 8:55 and sign attendance for the other 3. Then somebody else will come at 8:59 and sign attendance for the balance 4. And this was caught. We had to. So if you ask me, yes, that was a very bad thing which I had to do, but I didn't have a choice between firing 10 people and between firing 3 people. What did I do? I had to fire 3 people. But the company gave me a leeway. Said, Sasikanth, you decide how you want to fire. So I was very ethical. I didn't know how to. If I fire them because I like their face, I don't like their face. Obviously, personally you might like somebody's face, you might not. I can't do that. So what did I do? I went back, analyzed the joining date of the people who are joined the last 3. I fired them. And unfortunately and coincidentally, all those 3 happened to be girls. But then I didn't have a choice. I had to fire them. So who are joined last? Which means, for example, let's say Arpita is joined on May 1st, Rima is joined on May 2nd. I fired Rima because she joined last. Except for these things, I don't regret any of my failure or setback. I would view that this particular incident was a little bit of regret for me. I do regret firing people. I mean, because I don't believe in firing people. But I didn't have a choice. Right? But otherwise, all my failures, all my setbacks, all my challenges, they were supposed to make me learn a lesson. They were supposed to give me a direction. And I'm very happy that I proceeded in the way I have proceeded.
Sound good. Okay, moving ahead, your next question is, what is the importance of self reflection after experiencing a setback?
Okay. If any of you have seen the Elon Musk interview, when Elon Musk started SpaceX, okay, he wanted to have a chief design officer or a chief technology officer, one of these. Around searching for people, and people are not willing to join from NASA or any other space related companies to SpaceX. So finally, Elon Musk himself became a CTO, and because of which SpaceX got delayed, and he had to go through some 3 or 4 iterations to arrive at the success in launching the spacecraft. So in his interview, he says that was a big learning for me. That is what is self-reflection. When you go back to the drawing board and see what is the costs of failure, and you start reevaluating your goals and priorities, that is what I would say as what you call self-reflection. You go back to the drawing board and see what has gone wrong, right? Process of analyzing and deciding what changes we need to make.
So, sir, in our journey, how can failure help us develop humility and empathy?
Okay. When we hit failure, we hit rock bottom. Okay. When I became VP, senior VP of $1 billion company, 1,000 crore division, 100 crore PBT, then over 10 years time, 200 people reporting to you, close to close to 8-figure salary. I thought I was God. And my next position, I thought I will definitely become CEO, because at 35, you have another 25 years to go. So once you become senior VP at a $1 billion company, you become arrogant. Arrogant means not ill-treating people, but you become overconfident. You think that you know everything. That's a fundamental mistake I made, right? And next 10 years, I remained at VP level, learning a lot of things, contributing, but remain VP at 10 levels. I was not able to move into the CEO level for $1 billion. Obviously, I was not interested. Having worked for a $1 billion company, obviously, you wouldn't want to become CEO of a Lala company, of a 50 crore company or 100 crore. That is when, after 10 years, I realized that after being in VP, I realized I didn't do the things which I was supposed to do if I was to become a CEO, which means I had to network with people outside my company, outside my domain, outside my industry, outside my sphere of influence. I didn't do that. I had to network with people who are headhunting CEOs. I didn't do that. I had to network with people with board of directors of other companies. I didn't do that. And when I hit the saturation point at the age of at 45, and when I pivoted into consulting, that is when I started becoming humble and realizing that how I empathize, how other people would have faced failure in their career at a later point of view. See, the advantage I had is I became a senior VP and then touched failure. Advantage and disadvantage. Advantage is you see failure very early in life. Disadvantage is once you become senior VP at 35, you don't know what to do after that. And that's what happened to me. So then when I started consulting, I had to pivot. I had to start working with people who are half my age. Initially, I had a lot of problems. I could not empathize with maybe people of your age. Today, I can say I can get along with a 8-year-old girl to a 80-year-old man. I can get along, because having worked with startups in the last 10 years and facing failures, setbacks, challenges, now I know how to talk to a young kid, how to talk to a college student, how to talk to an entrepreneur, how to talk to a 60-year-old or an 80-year-old. That's what I would say as developing humility and empathy, right? So when you're not immune to ups and downs, and nobody is immune to ups and downs, right? That is when your self-realization leads to self-discovery. So for me, at the age of 45, my self-realization led to self-discovery. So today, what do? I add value to startups. I add value to SMEs. Obviously, that CEO $1 billion ambition is gone. You can't keep worrying about that, right? That's gone. So now it's the next second avatar of myself, basically as a consultant or a mentor, coach, guide, trainer, or whatever you can say. But primarily, if you ask me, yes, I work as an advisor. Right? So that's where I have to be humble. I have to be empathic with the entrepreneurs. For example, such forums, entrepreneurs come late. Young guys, they come half an hour late. I don't lose my cool. I just make some slight sarcastic remark. That's it. Beyond that, I don't do it, because people have to respect my time, right? So, but I don't lose my cool. I don't. So you have to be empathic. You have to be. So that's what failure has taught me.
Nice. Next question is, can you think of a famous person who learned from their failures and what can be learned from their experience?
Ha. So I would say Jeff Bezos as my one of my favorite person. Okay. Now why Jeff Bezos? He went through lot of failures within Amazon. Okay. For example, Amazon Fire Phone failed. Then he acquired a company called Cosmos that did not take off very well. Then he had dispute with some publishers. Then he had some antitrust issues with I think couple of with a lot of resellers and all. They had a doubt whether Amazon will take over their customers and all that. Right? So a lot of lessons from Jeff Bezos leaders for personal as well as business or leadership lessons, right? And what Jeff Bezos says is view failure as an opportunity. Okay? And he also says that you have to be stubborn on your vision and flexible on your details. Which means, for example, if you have to start a company, you need to start either a B2B company or a B2C company. You can't keep switching between a B2B and B2C unless and until you reached end of the road on B2B and they say, okay, this is not working out. Now let me pivot and go into a B2C. That's the last resort. Otherwise, if your goal is to be in a B2B company, till the end, you have to stick to that. That's what Amazon, Jeff Bezos says. Be stubborn about your vision, but keep changing your plan A, which means he also says you should never have a plan B, which means, for example, let me give you one example from my academic life. When I was in 10th, my father said, prepare for engineering, prepare for medicine. At the time, we could do that. So I had physics, chemistry, biology, English, and maths. But by the end of 11th standard, when I started dissecting frog, I used to vomit when I see the frog and all that. Then I realized that I cannot become a surgeon, I cannot become a doctor because you need to spend time dissecting human bodies at the end. Forget about frogs. So that is when I got really bored of biology. I went back to my biology teacher and told her, Madam. So she was shocked because I was 98. I was a student of the year, right? In this class as well as in biology, I was a top student. No, you are my most favorite student. You can't change. I said, I don't have a choice. I have to change. So I let go of biology from in 12th, after 11th. That means after 1 year of studying biology, 12th beginning, I let go of biology. I don't know whether it's available now in CBSE, but at that time we could do it. I let go of biology and got history. And history, you just have to mug up and study at the last minute. You can clear. I mean, maybe I can't get 90%, but I could get 77 or something. I was number 2 in history in class with just last minute study. No. Why did I do that? I was very clear. I was focused. I wanted to get into IIT. I wanted to get into engineering. So it is maths, physics, and chemistry. No biology. You don't need biology for engineering. There's not a single course of biology in our engineering degree. When I studied electric engineering from NIT Allahabad way back in 87 to 90. So that is what you mean by stubbornness in your vision and flexibility in details, which means I was flexible in taking history, but very stubborn that I'll focus only on maths, physics, chemistry, go and target IIT and NIT. So that's a big lesson from Amazon. When I look back, actually, yes, I did what. While I could not relate when Jeff Bezos talked about stubbornness of vision, and that is when I related what I had the stubbornness of vision when I was, and that's how I could crack into NIT, which is number 2 level after IIT in engineering. Yeah.
Great instance, sir. So, moving ahead, what are some strategies for bouncing back from failure?
Strategies for bouncing back from failure.
From failures.
First and most important, what have I gained by working for last 30 plus years? What I have gained by doing an engineering, and what I've gained by doing MBA? What have I gained with interacting with people like you, people like startup founders, other employees? Bosses above me, below me. Strategic thinking. Unless and until you get the art of strategic thinking, You can't bounce back from failure. So strategic thinking is one strategy you need to have. Okay, that is one thing. Second, you need to have mentors and coaches. Maybe not like me. See, I work as a mentor or coach for startups, right? I don't work. I don't actively go after on students like what you guys are doing. Right? I don't do that because that's not my game. But if any student approaches me on LinkedIn after office hours, after my consulting hours, I do it, but pro bono. I do it free of charge. I don't charge anything for that. Well, I'm on some platform where chargeable basis, but otherwise, if any student approaches me, I do it free of charge, right? So you need to, as a startup entrepreneur, as a student, you need to have a personal mentor coach, you need to have a professional mentor coach, you need to have academic mentor coach. At different stages of life, you need to have different coaches. So that is one of the second strategy which I would say. And third strategy which I would say to bouncing back from failure is take short, quick breaks, analyze, and then do a failure analysis. So these are the four things which I would say as strategies for bouncing back from failure.
Your next question is, how can we create a supportive environment that encourages learning from failure?
Okay. As I previously told you, we should look at uh, setbacks or failure as steps or stacks towards success. Okay. So when you don't criticize the outcome, that means, for example, let's say you are my student and I don't criticize your failure, but I criticize your process. That is when you're creating a supportive or encouraging environment to overcome failures or encourage learning from failures. And then when you encourage people to speak about failure, for example, today I take a lot of pride in saying that I joining Asian Paints for 3 months. It's a failure for me. Yeah, I did. My father still says, "Boss, you made a mistake joining Asian Paints." But that was a step. That was a step. I needed that failure to get success in Siemens for the next 5 years, right? After you encourage people to speak about failures, you also need to encourage them to speak about what is the learnings they have got. So when you provide this, when you encourage this failure, when you don't take, when you're not passing criticism about failure, but you're criticizing about the process, and when you have a culture of looking at failures as steps and stacks for success, I think that's a supportive environment you need to have.
So, sir, how can we use failure as a chance to reevaluate our goals and priorities?
Okay. So typically, what happens is when you get into a failure, you will do a analysis, and when you do analysis, you will get to know where your which steps have succeeded, which steps have not succeeded. So you will go and fine tune your goal, and then you will also change your priorities accordingly. Right? For example, when I knew that biology exam will dilute my, in fact, I realized that I was not able to spend time in maths and physics when I was spending on biology. So I went back and analyzed what is the problem. Then I realized I've taken a subject course which is not contributing to IIT. So went back, removed biology and put history. Similarly, when a startup gets a failure, they have to go and do a failure analysis. And then start seeing, okay, have we, are our goals right? In fact, I would, that's where your mentor roles come. You cannot make a mistake in identifying goals, but sometimes you have to go and fine tune your goals, right? You can't change your goal from B2B company to B2C company. You can change your company from B2B company targeting enterprise customers to mid-market customers. That you can do, right? So you're changing your goal slightly, right? Instead of tapping large customers, you're going after mid-market customers. If mid-market customers are not succeeding, you're going to your SME customers. If SME customers are not succeeding, then you're going after your micro customers. That is micro SME. So that's how you change your goals and priorities. That's how failures.
Your next question is, what is the role of risk taking in learning for fail?
Please repeat that. What is the role of?
What is the role of risk taking in learning to fail?
Okay. So if you look at success comes to you only if you are taking risks. If you don't take risks, success will never come to you. Okay. But when I say risk, it has to be calculated risk and not blind, unwanted risks. So when you take calculated risk, there will be some failure, but then you will proceed to the next. So when you get failure and you want to move to the next level, you always need to go back and say, okay, have I taken a calculated risk? Shall I proceed further? That's what you need to do. So when I moved from corporate career to a startup consulting career, I looked at the risks. What is the maximum risk? Maximum risk is for 3 years I may not get money. So I had 3 years salary in my account, right? Enough money to fund my 3 years of startup, consulting startup to set it up and all that. So that is the risk I took, right? So my wife asked me a question: what happens at the end of 3 years if you fail? So you have to probably go and do something else. Probably as a consultant, if I am failing as a consultant, then I have to go back and drive Uber or Ola. So I told her, I know driving. Worst case, we have to do Uber Ola. But heart of heart, that was just to keep my wife happy. But heart of heart, I was very clear. I will not fail. I will succeed. There is no question of going and driving Uber and Ola with an MBA and engineer. Not that feeling bad to do it, but I need to succeed as a consultant. So that is when I decided that yes, I need to. So you have to take that calculated risk. You know that you have got 3 years salary in bank. You have to make success. So that is what is called calculated risks. So I hope I have answered your question.
Yes, so great. So moving ahead, I just want to ask, how can failure help us identify our strengths and weaknesses?
Okay. So when you do failure analysis, as I told you before, you're supposed to do SWOT analysis. While most startups do SWOT analysis at the beginning of their business planning or strategic planning or a business kickstart, but I recommend my startups to do SWOT analysis at every stage of setback or failure, because you never know what additional strength you have got. You also never know what new weaknesses that you have come across in your company, or what new opportunity is in the marketplace, or if there is a new threat coming in the visibility. For example, you take, I don't think, even I could not predict that there will be a risk of tariff barrier when Trump comes in the second term, because he never did that in the first term. Suddenly, in the second term, he comes and puts a tariff barrier, and the entire world economy is going to crash. Going to crash. I'm not saying it will crash, it might crash, right? I'm not being very pessimistic, but I'm just saying. So, in that case, you need to do a, for example, every startup need to do a SWOT analysis right now to see how can they prevent failure. Because if you don't do, so that is why when you do a failure analysis, you do a SWOT analysis, and that SWOT analysis will tell you what is your strengths and weakness. So whether it is personal life, academic life, professional life, startup, you have to do SWOT analysis, which will help you do failure analysis, and that's how you come across your strengths and weaknesses, and obviously opportunities and threats.
The next question is: can failure be a catalyst for innovation and creativity? How?
So the perfect example for this is Elon Musk. Okay, he was founder of PayPal. Or, I don't remember exactly PayPal or Paytm. I know not Paytm. Sorry, he was a founder of PayPal, and from there he got probably millions of dollars, and that's how he started Tesla. That's how he started SpaceX. And believe me, he's one guy who has learned from his failures, learned how to build a reusable rocket, which none of and nobody could think of before that. Can you imagine an entrepreneur thinking of reusable rocket, and all, and he has become a success out of it, right? So that's how failure He failed 3 times. He failed, as I told you, as a CTO of the Tesla company or a chief design officer of a company. He failed 3 times. That's how he got into success. So failure actually builds creativity and innovation, because you start looking at new ideas, new ways of doing it. What are the creative ways? How can I overcome this failure? How can I get more success, or how can I build a new path towards success?
Great. So, what are some ways to reframe failure as a positive
There is a
experience?
stop. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Tell me. Yeah, please. Yeah, please.
So, what are some ways to reframe failure as a positive experience?
Okay. If you look at uh, my life, I always viewed failure or other challenges. In fact, I think after a long time, I'm telling failure for so many times in any my talk. Otherwise, for the last, I think, 4 or 5 years, if any startup says failure, I don't encourage it. I said, please tell me challenge. I don't even say setback. I say challenge. The first time I'm doing it. So I believe in this philosophy. Instead of failure, I say it as a school of learning. Okay. And if you look at Edison, what Thomas Alva Edison, who invented the electric bulb, he says, I have not failed. I have found multiple other ways it won't work. He is trying to invent the electric bulb, and he went through multiple channels. They say it is 10,000, but I don't know exactly what is the number, but multiple times he has found. And he says, I'm very happy that I have not failed. I found multiple other ways where it won't work. So as long as you are viewing your setback or challenge as school of learning, you are trying to be positive experience. Yeah.
Moving ahead, your next question is, how can we learn to focus on the process rather than the outcome?
Okay. Uh, I'm sure you people would have seen the Switzerland or Austria skiing competition where the skiers come down the slope, right? So how does a mountain skier, or rather, how do they ski so fast and then reach the bottom? Their philosophy is only one. They actually focus only on the path, and that is the immediate path. They don't look at the goalpost, ultimate goalpost. They don't look. They don't look at what are the obstacles on either side, trees, stones, rock. No, they just look where is the path. So when you have a visualization of your path, that is when you will get success in your, you will overcome failure. So what I'm trying to say is, focus on the process and don't focus on your outcome.
Absolutely, so. So, a similar question: how can we use failure as an opportunity to practice gratitude and appreciation?
I keep asking myself, or I tell startups, okay, if you've done something, what is that have I gained from the failure? How has it enriched my experience? So I think how do we practice gratitude and appreciation is going back to God and saying, boss, thank you for teaching me a lesson. Thank you for showing me the obstacle. Thank you for not killing me. For example, you kickstart a startup and you fail. It's not end of your career. It's not. I mean, your parents are not going to disown you. Maybe your investors will disown you, but your parents are not going to disown you. Probably yes, your boyfriend or girlfriend might disown you, but it is not end of your life, right? So as long as you start seeing that, okay, I'm grateful for my failure. What is that enrichment coming out of my failure? I'm thanking God. So when you thank God, you're actually practicing gratitude and appreciation. So when you start practicing gratitude and appreciation on a daily basis, you will start seeing failure as an opportunity, and you will start enjoying it on a daily basis. I know. See, even today, when I get setbacks, I feel a bit frustrated. But I only ask one question: do I have a choice? No. So what is the choice? Go back and enjoy. Right? So enjoy your failure. And thank God, yes, this obstacle has not doomed me, has not killed me. I'm still alive. I'm still working. That's what I would say.
Nice. Moving ahead, your next question is, what is the importance of learning from others' failures?
See, one thing I've learned in the last 10 years of working with startups is I have to learn from their failures. Why? Because if I don't learn failure, let's say Rima started a startup and she has failed. I have to learn why you have failed. Only then I can go to Arpita and say, boss, obviously, as a consultant, I cannot disclose why my client has failed, or I mean, that's not ethical, that's not professional, that's not legal also. Because I've signed an agreement. Right? But I can indirectly tell Arpita, okay, there is a startup. She has failed because she has not taken this kind of a risk. By hiding, I will hide. Obviously, I will not disclose everything. Some portion I'll hide and then go and tell that, okay, if you do this, this particular startup, when they did this, is failed. So this is why it's very important that you have to learn from others' failure so that you don't waste your time, your effort, and money. Why reinvent the wheel when somebody has failed trying that route? So what you will do, you will not blindly go and say, no, I will not attempt that. You will go and study the failure and the process of the failure. What is the process that led Rima to fail? I'll go and tell the startup boss. Rima, I mean XYZ startup tried this, they failed, they used this process. Then the startup comes back, sir, what if I do this method? Then I will think, oh wow, that's a great idea. Let's try it. But I tell them, well, I'm not sure. Do you want to try? Then he goes and checks with his technology mentor. I'm a business mentor, I'm a strategy mentor, I'm not a technology mentor. He goes and discusses with a technology mentor who tells you how to coding AI and all that. He says, no, it's a good idea, let's give. So then all three of us decide. The technology mentor, the strategy mentor, and the startup, we together decide, yes, we go ahead. So we change the process and attempt the same thing, right? So it does. So when you look at others' failure, you have to look at the process why they fail, and then not repeat that process or fine tune that process and then do that. That's why learning from others' failures is very important. Yeah.
Definitely, great, sir. So, how can failure help us develop a growth mindset?
There is a book by Carol Dweck which talks about mindset. I think it's a very interesting book which everybody, professor, teacher, student, employee, startup founder, obviously 8-year-old can't read, but I would recommend 15-year-old should read that. So 15-year-old to 80-year-old, everybody should read that book, Carol Dweck's book on mindset. And in that book, she talks how a growth mindset can help you overcome failures, overcome setbacks, go across challenges, and still reach success. Okay, and she says growth mindset is about staying positive at the same time improving continuously. So you're not being, for example, you're saying, okay, I will succeed. I say, no, it's not false positives. You need to have a positive mindset. At the same time, you need to continuously improve yourself and try and overcome. So she did a lot of research. So what Carol says is, when she gave the same exercise to two different kids, the kids with growth mindset, they always went about doing the things with a challenge. The kids with fixed mindset, they viewed it as failure, they viewed it as setback, and then gave it up fast. So she says that if you develop failure, if you face failure and you continue face failure, then over a period of time, you will have a growth mindset. So that's why when you overcome failure, finally you would have got a growth mindset, and which actually leads to success. So if you remember when I told you that my stats of failure actually helped me in success, is actually that I got into a growth mindset because of, while I see, very frankly speaking, when I was in Asian Paints, I was cursing my boss, I was cursing God, everything I was cursing. But I was also learning. Because see, obviously, if somebody is paying you salary, you can't go to factory and come back. So I was learning there. I was trying to troubleshoot, but I was cursing because in Asian. Okay, now if you ask me why I viewed Asian Paints failure, you go at you. Okay, I used to stay in Noida, sector 26 at that time. This was way back in 91. So in 91, I think it was 29 or 30 was the last sector. Beyond Noida sector, there was no sector after 30 or 35. It was all empty ground. And Greater Noida was part of Ghaziabad district, and Asian Paints, which is today in Surajpur Taluk and Kasna, was part of Ghaziabad district. So from by bus, I used to go from Noida sector 18, that is Atta Market, to all the way to Ghaziabad, Kasna village, and Asian Paints. I used to curse because you're traveling by that DCM Toyota Metro, 1.5 hours. The road was bad. There was no tar road. There was spotted holes. Morning, evening road. Go to factory. There is no. You have chilled water. I drink the chilled water. My face becomes numb. And whole day you have to stand in the factory. And these electricians are very smart. They will do only high profile job. They will not do low profile job. I had to go replace the starter. The tube light will have the starter. I have to go and put a stool, replace the starter. I had to go behind the electrician, beg them for moving from one part of the factory to another factory. I was cursing the job. I was cursing everything. Right? But finally, that is what took me to the next level. So while I cursed my job, but I learned, I gave my full thing. Whatever I could learn from there, and finally converted that into success in my next job.
It sounds good. The next question is, you need to break the rules if you want to succeed. Do you agree with this statement?
Uh, I have a dual reply for this. I can't give you a straightforward reply. Okay, because this illegally, you can't break the rules, right? So if it is government rules, you can't break them. But if it is corporate rules, then you can break them, provided you're not unethical or unprofessional. Now, let me give you an example. Okay, this is from my way back, right? So when I used to work for Siemens, we used to sell UPS system. I hope you all understand what is UPS system, which takes power from the supply, gives it to your computer, right? So we used to supply UPS systems to Tata IBM. At that time, there was no IBM, it was Tata and IBM. So Tata IBM and Tata IBM used to give it to Procter and Gamble and Hindustan Lever. And IBM was very stringent. They did a test of our UPS and came back. Finally, the technical guys called me and said, Sasikanth, sorry, we can't buy your UPS. Which means 2 to 3 crores of business loss for Siemens and for me personally at that time. And I was there and I didn't know what to do. So I asked, what is the technical problem? So he said that your UPS, the plug was a German plug. In that, see, unlike your 3-pin plug in your home, you can put it only one way, right? You can't put it ulta because there are 3 pin. You can that big plug goes into one point and the small thing goes into. You can't reverse and put. But Siemens UPS came with a 2-pin plug, which is a German plug, which you can put it this way or this way. And when you reverse the poles, I mean, sorry, I'm being a little bit technical engineering, electrical engineering, right? When you reverse, there's a leakage current inside the UPS which will damage the laptop or the desktop at that time. At that time, I think there was laptop. You won't believe at that time laptop used to cost 2 lakh rupees and desktop used to cost I think 50, 70, 80,000. Very costly at that time. This was way back in 95, 96. So IBM said, sorry, your UPS will damage our laptop. We can't take your UPS disqualified. I didn't know what to do. So immediately I was just thinking and I was looking down. When I looked down, I saw the extension board down. And that gave me an idea. And I told IBM, What happens if I lock the power plug? I put the right plug and I lock it. What will happen? Now, how can you do it? And I told him, I'll give you, along with the UPS, I'll give you extension board. I'll put the plug and I will seal the plug so that the customer cannot remove it. No, but we will not pay for the plug. We will not pay for the extension board. And I knew at that time I can get plug for 50 rupees, extension board for 10 rupees at that time. So 91. Now the extension board costs 100 rupees. I had them 10 rupees. I think 10 or 20 rupees, and this plug for 30 to 20, 30 rupees. Nothing compared to UPS price of 1 lakh. I said, sir, take it free of charge. We got UPS from Siemens. We went to the factory. Sorry, we went to the warehouse. We put the UPS, removed the packaging, put the plug, connected wired the extension board, sealed the plug so the customer can't change. That is what you mean by breaking the rules. So sometimes you have to break the rules to get success. But I would advise, don't break any company rules, do not break any government rules, or do not break any legal rules. So I wouldn't advocate. But yeah, corporate rules sometimes you might have to break when you have to achieve success.
Great, sir. With this, we come to an end of this talk show. I literally enjoyed it throughout, and you have literally shared great instances from your own life. Thank you so much for such comprehensive talk. Moving ahead, we would like to express our sincere gratitude to Mr. Sasikanth R, CEO of A2Z Venture Consultancy, for being a guest for today at Conversation with Consultants. Your presence and engagement helped to make it a success. Thank you for providing us with insight into your inspirational journey.
Thank you very much. And my best wishes to all of you in your academic, personal, professional lives, wherever you are, because going forward with AI coming in, every professional has to get academically qualified. They have to go for courses. So all the best to all of you. And thank you for the opportunity. Thanks to CKC, thanks to Rima, and thanks to Arpita. All the best and nice speaking to you all. Bye.
Thank you, sir. Further, we could also like to thank our audience for listening patiently throughout the event. Thank you everyone for joining with us today and hope that everyone has gained some knowledge from this event. Looking ahead, we are excited to announce that our next episode 64 of our conversation with consultants will be next weekend. We hope to see you all there. Thank you again. And we look forward to reconnecting with you next week. Do subscribe to our YouTube channel and follow us all social media handles to stay connected with us. Goodbye and have a great day ahead.
Thank you.